A lot is happening right now. I can tell you the transition team is working very, very hard to put together an all-star team, to put together a team of change makers and people that are going to fulfill the mandate.
Charlie Kirk lays out the battle for Pete Hegseth's nomination as Secretary of Defense. Kirk slams the media's so-called smear campaign against Hegseth, lambasts Senate Republicans accused of undermining President Trump's agenda, and highlights the fight between the America First vision and establishment politics. This is a no-holds-barred defense of Hegseth's credentials as a wartime leader, while shredding the hypocrisy of those opposing him. Just take a listen here.
I want to begin today talking, we're going to go through a lot of topics here. Pete Hegseth. Pete Hegseth is a great man. Pete Hegseth has honorably served his country. And Pete Hegseth right now is victim to a media smear job to try to destroy his character and try to remove him from the nomination for Secretary of Defense.
Kirk sets the stage with heavy praise, but here's the first dose of bias. Great man doesn't automatically equal great nominee. He leans on Hegseth's battlefield experience, ignoring criticisms that running the Pentagon requires far more than courage under fire. Is Kirk dodging legitimate concerns or just gearing up for the punches?
Now, some people say, but Charlie, he doesn't have the experience, running a big organization. Hold on a second. He's actually served in the front lines of the department that he is going to have to run. You see, we used to have a tradition in this country where the people who were in charge of our military were also involved in the front lines of combat. George Washington famously would march to the front lines against the British and would be shot at, would not be moved. Our leaders used to be hardened by actual conflict. Pete Hegseth has served his country with incredible bravery and courage. This is nothing compared to what he had to face on the front lines fighting for America. However, the media is doing their best to try and be the fourth estate, to try to remove him as Donald Trump's nominee for Secretary of Defense. So let's begin here. Let's first talk about the positive. This is Coach Tuberville praising Pete Hegseth. And we've talked about this quite some time on this program. These Republican senators need to stand up and be counted. And if you are going to oppose Pete Hegseth, then we want to know your names and your states because we'll be visiting a neighborhood near you. If you're from Arkansas, if you're from Kansas, if you're from South Dakota, if you're from Idaho, and you're against Pete Hegseth, you're going to have to defend that to your voters.
This is Kirk at his boldest, putting establishment Republicans on blast. He accuses them of betraying Trump voters, but here's the irony. Demanding accountability from senators who may simply disagree with Trump's pick doesn't reflect the same small government principles conservatives preach. Is it about the will of the people or blind loyalty?
You see, the American people did not vote for old bull Senate Republicans to get in the way of President Trump's mandate. Let's begin here with Coach Tuberville praising Pete Hegseth. There is a major battle happening right now on Capitol Hill, an extraordinary drama where they're doing everything they can, where deep state Senate Republicans are doing everything they can to undermine President Trump and try to kill Pete Hegseth from being Secretary of Defense. Play cut 43.
Pete is a patriot. He understands the military 20 years, but he's done other stuff too. He's been in business, he's well educated, well spoken. But what I like about him, Larry, is he's the age. He's going in, running our military, and we need somebody the age, close to the age of a lot of these war fighters that we have. They can relate. This is a different military. This is a different time. This is a different era. And we need to build our military back because we have really degraded our military over the years because of the woke, the DEI, the critical race theory. All these things are being pushed at all of our war fighters, and they're getting out right and left. We've got to build it back, and Pete's the guy to do it, Larry.
Pete is the guy to do that. Now, understand that our military has become so broken. It is no longer the finest fighting force on the planet.
All right, I don't know about you guys, but Kirk's critique of the military's current state strikes a chord, but the transition to blaming woke policies and critical race theory feels oversimplified. Military readiness and morale are complex issues, and attributing their decline solely to ideological shifts risks alienating independent thinkers. A valid concern or a partisan oversell?
We commonly play that piece of tape of how sailors of the U.S. military were bragging the best part of their deployment was gay poem reading hour on these U.S. battleships. But there are forces in the U.S. Senate, some of whom want to become Secretary of Defense themselves, by the way, who are trying to undermine and stop Pete Hegseth. Understand this, first and foremost, Pete Hegseth embraces America First foreign policy better than anybody else. He understands that we need the finest fighting force on the planet. He understands that we should not have endless, adventurous, nation-building foreign conflicts or wars. Pete Hegseth is not a neocon. Pete Hegseth is not one of the warmongers of days past. Let's play cut 66. Pete Hegseth talking about the status of his nomination. Play cut 66.
Have you had any conversations with the president-elect about replacing you with Governor DeSantis?
I spoke to the president-elect this morning. He said, keep going, keep fighting. Behind you all the way.
So you're in this all the way.
Why would I back down? I've always been a fighter. I'm here for the more fighters. This is personal passion for me.
You're not withdrawing your name from consideration, just to be clear.
We're meeting all day with senators there.
Understand what is happening here is that you have this Praetorian Guard of the U.S. Senate that is trying to stop the will of the American people. Now, this all started with the neocons of the Senate being a little nervous that Pete Hegseth philosophically might not agree with their warmongering agenda. Might ask questions, why are we sending hundreds of billions of dollars to Ukraine? Why are we not putting our country first? Now, they're veiling this by saying, oh, it's all about these very serious accusations against Pete Hegseth. Oh, back it up. What serious accusations are there? Now, one of them, they're saying, well, Pete Hegseth's own mom came out against him. Well, that's not true. This is Pete Hegseth on Fox. Pete Hegseth's mother on Fox News, Penelope Hegseth, defending her son. Was this on the mainstream networks? Play cut 77.
What's one thing about Pete people don't realize?
That he's got a big heart. That he's very smart.
Yeah.
He is the most faithful patriot of this country. He loves his country. Loves his country. He's fought and almost died for his country. He's a good dad. He's an amazing son and father, and that's the Pete I want people to know.
Here's what we must understand, is that when Matt Gaetz dropped out, the enemies of our America First agenda thought they could pick off Trump's cabinet one by one using old Washington smear tactics. If Pete Hegseth becomes the latest pick to get knifed in the back, Bobby Kennedy be next, then Tulsi Gabbard, then Cash. We must not allow them to get away with this. This is a red line. Pete Hegseth is a red line. And I am tired of hearing, oh, these anonymous senators. Okay, is it Jim Crapo or Mike Crapo? Is it Mr. Risch in Idaho? Is it Mike Rounds? Is it Joni Ernst? Is it Bozeman or whatever his name is from Arkansas? You never hear from these people unless they want to vote no on Trump's nominees or vote yes on Ukrainian money. These guys, you never hear from them at all. Is it Shelley Moore Capito in Mississippi? Not West Virginia? Is it Cindy Hyde-Smith in Mississippi? Stand up and be counted. Tell us, who are you exactly? Who do you represent? Or are we going to allow just anonymous cabal of Senate Republicans say, oh, no, we know better than the voters? Donald Trump got elected to get people and change makers in the Pentagon like Pete Hegseth. Do you remember Mark Milley bragging about how he would back channel against Donald Trump with China, that he would not fulfill the orders of Donald Trump and back channel against the needs, wants, and interests of the sovereign, the President of the United States, who's a representative of the American people? Mr. White Rage. How about Esper or Mad Dog Mattis? Every single one of those people that were running the Pentagon were working against President Trump's agenda and the will of the American people. So you really have to think, who's in charge of this government that is coming in? Is it an unelected bureaucracy and old octogenarian Senate Republicans that want to keep on fighting Russia for no reason whatsoever? Or is it the people that voted for less war? The people voted for less war. To, yes, crush our enemies. To, yes, use lethality against those that dare threaten us. But we are done nation building. We are done subsidizing the government of Ukraine.
All right, so the anti-interventionist stance is clear here, but Kirk positions Hegseth as the champion of this cause without addressing the specifics of his plan. What's the alternative to funding Ukraine or rebuilding failed states? Bold declarations need real solutions, and this is where Kirk's argument thins out.
Tucker Carlson right now is in Russia trying to figure out how close are we actually to nuclear war. And I want to get a piece of that tape of Tucker in Russia. This is a red line, everybody. If you're from Idaho, you better call your senators. From Mississippi, call Cindy Hyde-Smith. President Trump won on a referendum of less war. And now Senate Republicans say, who cares?
In my opinion, Charlie Kirk's defense of Pete Hegseth is fiery, unapologetic, and loaded with loyalty to Trump's vision. But the strategy here is clear. Dismiss criticism, paint Hegseth as the perfect antidote to a broken system, and vilify anyone who questions him as part of the deep state. While his passion might energize Trump loyalists, the lack of nuance in addressing Hegseth's critics could alienate skeptics looking for substance over sound bites. Thanks so much for watching. You can subscribe if you want or don't. I don't really care.